So first things first, Sam, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. My jet lag is like hitting me. It's funny. Usually, it hits me on like the second day, but then the third day, sometimes I have trouble sleeping in the middle of the night. Like last night, I woke up at 2:30 in the morning and couldn't get back to sleep until like 6. So but then I had gotten 3 hours previous, and then I slept until 10. So I got like 7 or 8
Okay.
hours.
So you're energized
I'm
for the
okay.
show?
I'm all right. Yeah. Oh yeah. No, the show is going to be fine. I'm never worried about my energy levels for that, especially not here. This town is always really really good to us. So
That is good to hear.
yeah.
Well, I kind of want to jump straight into the new record because I had the chance to listen to it.
Oh, cool.
Earlier. So
Great.
first, obviously, it has been a couple of years, and well, you've talked about this before, but you had a couple of incarnations that didn't cut it.
Yeah.
What were you looking for? Why didn't those incarnations didn't make it until now?
Well, I mean, I felt it was important for us to strike a balance between something that felt like an evolution for us, but that also was kind of digging in deeper on who we are and who we've established ourselves as a band, and what our fans, our like mega fans, know us as, and I didn't feel like we had that with the other versions of the record. We didn't have stuff that felt like, we had a lot of stuff that felt like it was a progression for us as musicians, and but it didn't feel as personal because we were just shooting for the moon in terms of genre and sound and style, and it didn't. It was. We were really trying to show off, rather than like make something honest and real, and also give something to our fans that felt familiar to them. That it had none of that on the other two iterations of the record, which is fine, and I think we might go there on our next record. But for this record, the second record, I wanted to have some familiarity for our fans.
It's interesting that you say that because listening, and obviously to the previous music you've made before, it's very diverse, and I think your voice works well in a lot of genres.
Thank you. Yeah.
There is a lot of things that you can do. So is it difficult to kind of curtail that and not to?
Yeah, it was hard, and that's why we brought Ricky Reed in to help executive produce, because he, like us, tends to kind of go all over the place. But what was great about working with him is that when the two of us came together, we both kind of like saw that in each other, and we're like, oh no, we got to do one thing, So I think that was really helpful definitely helpful for me, and I think for us as a band too.
What was the turning point then? Because you had, I think you had quite a bunch of songs written, and so what was the turning point where you started thinking, okay, this is kind of this is our identity.
Well, it was sitting down with Ricky. I sat down with him and played him the record and then all of the other songs that we had written too. And I wanted to know what he, as a fan of ours and as kind of an objective perspective, thought would be a great record. And a lot of the songs that he chose were not the ones that were on the previous incarnation. But the ones that he did choose, I was really pleasantly surprised by. And the notes that he had for some of the newer stuff that we had been working on were very much like, I want to hear more of your voice in this, or like this, you should make this more personal, which I loved hearing, and I think that really was great.
And that personal element, because you've said before in previous interviews about how you draw upon, you look to your brother for a lot of inspiration.
Sure, yeah, I look to all people in my life for inspiration, and yeah, I mean, it kind of comes from all over. Sorry to interrupt.
No, but is it? I was going to say, is it fair to say that you kind of look back upon your life a little bit on this album? There are some elements of going back home and those kind of things.
There are, but I think overall the album tries to look mostly towards the future. It's an album about putting the past kind of behind you and putting pain behind the pain that I've experienced in my lifetime behind me, and opening myself up to something new. And I think that's that's part of the reason why we named the album Orion. It's my nephew's middle name, and I see him and I see the future. It's you can't help it, and so I felt it was appropriate for this record. And we're now in our 30s and grown men and trying to figure out where we fit in the world now. So.
Is that where a song like Recover comes from? Kind of that kind of optimistic.
Yeah, and a good friend of mine, and actually a lot of people that I know recently are in recovery, and have gone through that process, and I've had people close to me that have gone through that. So that's kind of drawn from that world a little bit. That's where that one comes from.
The kind of the hint of optimism that is in those, and
right.
the first track, Hey Child, as well. There's those kind of difficulties, but then
I can't help but be an optimist. I think it's just a part of my nature. I have to believe that there is always going to be a light at the end of the tunnel, if I can't believe that, then I'm just gonna sink down, and lose myself. I find that in all of my work, I try to keep a little bit of a light there, and because I know that there's a lot of there's a lot of darkness and pain in the world. So I try to acknowledge that fully, but then also say it's a shared experience. We all feel this, and that in itself can be a kind of a light at the end of the tunnel.
Well, that's an interesting thought, because my next question would be, where does music, in a sense, fit into all of this kind of that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. There's better days to come. So what role does music have in this process for you?
Oh man, I mean, it's that voice saying you're not alone. That's really it, and that's the music that moves me the most, and always has, and I think that's the music that I try to make, for our fans and for people who don't know our music too, who just come across it. What better thing than when you're having a real bad day and you just put your phone on shuffle and a song pops up that just speaks to you in that moment, whether it's a song saying like, everything's going to be okay, don't worry, or it's a song saying like, hey, I feel like shit too and I don't know why, or if it's a song like, I feel like I want to break something, like whatever it is, it's something that speaks to you and how you're feeling in that moment. Just hearing that other voice makes you feel a little less alone, and I think that's what we all just want to feel, is a little less alone.
Aside from your own music, who was the last artist or song that had this effect on you?
Oh, well, I'm talking about it. There's a song, Mavis Staples song called "You're Not Alone" that she did with Jeff Tweedy, that came out a couple of years ago that really just spoke to me. But actually, even more recent than that, that song "The Joke" by Brandi Carlile. I mean, it's just so good. So good. She's speaking for so many people who feel like their voices are so small. And she's saying it's okay, the joke's on them. I thought it was so beautiful when I first heard it, and like I just had to go back and listen to it again and again and again. Yeah.
What is it like then, kind of knowing that what you make, your creativity, can have a similar effect on the people that listen to it?
Oh man, I mean, it's really overwhelming. It's half the time I like can't even really wrap my head around it or believe it, you know, like, but it really is, you know, true that our music has had a similar effect on people, and that's the greatest gift. Even if I can't acknowledge it and feel it, you know, fully, that doesn't matter because it's for them, you know. I think a lot of the time when someone says that to me, I'm flattered, obviously, and there's a part of me that just like wishes that I could feel that feeling that they're feeling, you know, because my brain is so bogged down with just the intricacies of it all, and the making of the project and the making of the music and the behind the scenes stuff. You know, I get very, very cloudy with all of that stuff. So, but there are moments of clarity for sure, you know, and that usually is on stage or, you know, having a conversation with someone who stops me in the street. You know, it does happen sometimes where I'm able to appreciate it and feel it. Yeah, you know, I'm most of the time I'm just like so caught up in my own shit. You know, as we all are.
It's difficult to take that step back and to kind of...
Yeah, but it's important to do it, and I try to. So.
And one thing, because this is kind of talking about success a little bit, but there's a line in Shadow I thought was really interesting. Is wherever I run, wherever I go, will I ever stop wanting more? So this idea that I always ask what is success to you, but this idea of always wanting more, is that familiar to you?
That's what that song is about. That's what that song's all about. You know, it's just about that chasing this thing that you're never going to catch. And I think for me, it can kind of go a million ways. You know, it's whether it's like anything in my life, whether it's my work life, my friendships, my love life, like anything. You know, I think we always kind of all inherently have this grass is always greener mentality, which can just be dangerous and unhealthy. And you know, but it's just in us. And I think acknowledging that and recognizing that is the first step towards putting it to rest a little bit. So that song is kind of my attempt to put some of my feelings like that to rest. You know, I always will. I think a good amount of ambition is healthy, absolutely, and I think I definitely have that. It's when that ambition gets mixed in with envy and jealousy and bitterness and a jaded kind of view of the world that it starts getting dicey. You know, like we have accomplished so much as a band. We have come so far. You know, like a part of kind of where I'm at in my life is like I've realized now as a 30-year-old that I've accomplished a lot of the things that I wanted to accomplish when I was like a teenager. You know, and when you're a teenager, your brain, like at least my brain, didn't go further than, you know, like 28. You know, I just, especially like in this career too, you know, because, you know, music it's kind of a young person's game, you know, like, so, not that 30 isn't young, just, you know, I'm just kind of at a point where I feel like I don't know what's next, but I'm like, I know that I feel like I want more of something all the time. just grappling with that. That's what that song is, and I don't have any answer to.
So you have to
anything.
remind yourself, like, it's going well. You're doing well.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah.
But I can imagine that. Just final question, kind of.
Yeah.
But I can imagine that. Because one of the things I heard an artist say once, which kind of changed my mindset a little bit, is that music isn't a competition. Yet we have all these charts and then this industry, and then people like me who try to talk about those kinds of things.
Man, it's so fucking hard. It's so fucking hard, and I can't I do everything in my power to not pay attention to that. With us, I try desperately not to pay attention to the Spotify charts or the Apple Music charts, the iTunes charts, the Billboard charts, or radio ads this week, or followers on Instagram or likes on Instagram. But some things you just can't avoid, and man, also just like reviews, anything you sometimes you just can't avoid seeing stuff that is gonna hurt your pride a little bit, or just stress you out. And it's important to be able to just understand that as much as, people want you to think that it's in your control, like if you post this amount per week or post these type of photos, you will increase your followers, right? Or if you, if you make this type of music and release it at, at this certain time, you'll get more streams, or if you do a feature with this artist, you'll get more streams, or if you make a song like this, it can get synced, and like there's a lot you just can't control though. Sure. And I think the one thing that I know I can control is my output and the quality of that output of music, and how deep I want to go into myself to get that. And that's it, and I think honestly at the end of the day, you just got to be happy with the work that you've made. And if people don't like it, that is their prerogative. Mm-hmm. There's nothing you can do, and that should say nothing about what you think of the work. Right. But it's really hard to do. It's really I'm trying to practice what I preach, man. But it's really hard. I was reading some article the other day about how artists are now becoming more vocal about, talking back to journalists who write bad reviews of their records, and how it's affecting the journalists. Like people are getting like death threats and shit. It's gnarly. It's gnarly, but like. On the one hand, I understand why someone who now has a platform to like speak out and say like, "Hey, you said this shitty thing about my music. Fuck you." I understand why they'd want to say that, but what good is that really gonna do? I mean, for you as an artist, like you should just I have to just focus on what makes me happy.
It won't make you more proud of the work that you've done by the Sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good. This was a great conversation. I really enjoyed this. Right, do you want me to do like a sign off or anything?
No, you're good. We don't do that kind
Great.
of stuff. Sam, thank you very much.
Hey, thank you so much, man. That was a real pleasure. Those are great questions. I always appreciate that.
Thank you very much. It's nice to say.